Hello and welcome, fellow subscribers and other racing fans. Welcome to another episode of Setup 101, one of the first in the last weeks. As you all know, I did not have too much time because of moving. However, now my favorite track is coming up. It's Bathurst, and of course I'm doing a Setup 101 for that track, and I'm racing on the track. And yeah, I'm planning to get to the podium on this track. Good. So I have to say, unfortunately, I made a setup a little bit premature, so we can't develop the setup together this time. It's already there. I already had some of my settings I need on this track. So it was, well, a matter of a minute. Yeah, I just wanted to say seconds, but that would be a little bit too much probably. But it was a minute and I had everything set up. So let's look into the setup. First thing you have to know, the setup is optimized for a September race. So track temperatures are quite cool, you know, it's still a little bit of winter left in Australia at this time of the year, and we have 35 degrees Celsius track temperatures, which is not that much. As you can see, tire pressures, because of that, quite low, 100 or 1.75 a bar in the front left, which is the least used tire on the track, and all other tires are on 180. I think it's pretty much cool. The tire temps, we will look at them on the telemetry after I explained everything. They are okay. I didn't do a really long stints, but the tires are not overheating in short stints, so I guess in longer stints the tires will probably be too cold even, so you might need to go lower than that. Didn't change the brake pressures. Downhill, always a problem. Better to have a feel for the brake, so you don't lock up the tires over the bumps in the downhill section, but you can also reduce the pressure a little bit or use the default one. It might help with that problem as well. Brake balance, I increased the brake balance by 1%. Also, because of the downhill section, the car is just a little bit more stable. Yeah, if you have it at 57 or lower, the rear comes around quite easily, you know. More rear balance means more oversteering while braking. Brake ducts, 50%. I wouldn't go lower than that, although you really want to go very low in the brake ducts, because that will bring you tiny bit more top speed, but 660 degrees Celsius with 50%. So it's at the limit, I wouldn't go higher brake temperatures than that. Okay, a short excursion to the force feedback, maybe. For some reason, I explained that in the live stream last week already. For some reason, with my new desk I have here, I need stronger force feedback. The desk, the table actually changes how I perceive the force feedback of the wheel, and I now need a little bit more force feedback gain. I keep the 26% master scale, which is the default value, but as always I increase the FX to 126 and decrease all other settings by a certain amount. Usually I use high 70% settings or 80. That's just it's just a quick slider action, you know, and where I land. It's just an about figure. Okay, let's go on with the downforce. Probably one of the most important settings here. Usually I would want to go with 0 downforce. Gets you more top speed. However, the middle sector, especially again the downhill section here, makes the rear quite uncomfortable with very low rear downforce. And as I saw, the top speed is not that much lower with 3 rear downforce. I'm using 3. Probably many people will disagree here with me, but I'd rather have more rear downforce to calm down the rear than this 1 km/h top speed in the end. We didn't change the weight bias, it's very well there at the rear. That's good. Steering ratio made a little bit slower, but well, that's again your personal setting, how you like it. I actually sorry, I actually did try to decrease the rear toe-in angle. Again, a little bit more top speed with lower angle and a little bit looser rear, but that exactly was the problem. I felt like the default value of 0.2 was better for that. Good. Anything else? Well, the camber, again, lowest camber as always. I don't need to explain that anymore. Yeah, even with the webcam you just can't see that I'm showing you the rear toe-in angle, but this is the last value, the 0.2, the last value of toe-in angle. Did you miss anything on the previous settings? Well, no, 50%, you know, that's the brake duct. Okay, let's move on to the ride height settings. Lowest ride height as always, while maintaining the balance between front and rear, as this is pretty much what you need to set up the McLaren. It looks strange with the 10mm more front ride height, and I have no idea if that's a bug, because as always, as I tell you, in the HUD in-game while driving, the ride height is lower in the front. So that's just the value in the setup menu, which looks a bit strange. 2 clicks, stronger springs, front and rear, balance is okay, and lowest sway bars. Why do we use that? Or softest sway bars, because of the bumps in the road. Yeah, you also don't really have those high-speed corners like in Barcelona, where you need the high sway bars, the stiff sway bars. No, you don't have that. So we use softest sway bars, which also might look strange to you in connection to the quite stiff springs, but yeah, believe me, the springs are working a little bit different, yeah, with the bumps. I know the sway bars do much more harm if the track is bumpy than the stiff springs. Actually, with the stiff springs we are better over the bumps, because they make the car go not as low as it usually would, you know, in terms of bottoming out. Usually the car is bottoming out quite heavily in Bathurst, and if you have stiffer springs, it is not anymore. Okay, bump stops, yeah, you should use them because of the bumps, yeah, but you don't need the default bump stops. I think I pretty much never used default ones. Always reduce them to a very tiny value. 5mm should be okay here. Higher bump stops, as you know, better for bumpy track, because when the car is compressing all the way in the springs, there's those little bump rubbers that prevent the hard buttoning of the chassis. And yeah, this is what bump stops are for, but we don't need big bump stops here. So yeah, I did increase the slow bumps. So in those left-right combinations on the hill, the car reacts quicker and is not as lame into the corners, you know. But at the same time, I softened the fast bumps to make the car calmer over the bumps, especially downhill. Well, that's the both settings I changed here with the dampers. Move on, acceleration lock and deacceleration lock. Always tell you deacceleration lock, I don't want to have much deacceleration lock. I don't like the car coming around and off throttle. I really don't like it. So 100% again here. And the 8% acceleration lock I actually changed now. This is something I wanted to change. That's a bit too low. Yeah. We can go to, let's try with 10 for now. Because in the 90 degrees corners, which is the first corner and the last corner, you need a bit more acceleration lock. Else you can't go on throttle early enough. Yeah, with the low acceleration lock, the car is understeering too much, and you're going on the grass there, which is not that much of a deal because the grass has, unfortunately, you have to say, unfortunately, quite an amount of grip. You can go on the grass and yeah, have pretty much the same grip as on the tarmac, but hell, yeah. You don't want to do it because you still lose a tenth probably. Okay. Radiator, in my short stints 10% was plenty. You might want to use a bit more for a longer race, but yeah. Especially when you plan to hit the wall at some point. Yeah. Having like 1 or 3% aero damage is enough to make the radiators not work properly anymore and in the end maybe overheat your engine, which you don't want to have. Yeah. Nothing to say with the gears here, just highest settings possible. The car is topping out at 291 kilometers per hour, unfortunately. So it wants to go faster, but it cannot. 2 short gears. Yeah, in my stints I used 30 liters qualifying fuel just to get some faster laps out of it. You want to do hot lapping, as always, you know, lowest fuel possible. You need about 4 liters of fuel per lap. So if you want to do one hot lap, you want to take maybe 10 liters with you. Okay, brake mapping 7 is also increased for the same reason as the deacceleration lock. Nothing to add here. And that's pretty much it. Now we're going into the telemetry really quick. So I prove you the points that I just told you. As if I would need to do that, right? No. One thing, last thing we said, top speed 291.3. Yeah, it doesn't go faster than that. Oh, we had 291.6. Yeah, well, that's pretty much it. My fastest lap so far with a huge mistake in the last sector, 202.2. So 201s are definitely possible with the setup and the car on this track. I will show you the hot lap after my explanations. So if you want to see my driving with the mistake in the end, just stick to the end of the video. Anything else to add? Well, maybe after much trying, I'd say in the first corner and in the last corner, the second gear is best. I tried first gear as well, but rolling around the corners in second gear seems to be a little bit better. As well as the, where is it? Is it here? No, next corner, it's this corner. The left-hander, as you see in the bottom right, the uphill left-hander, 1 to the third or fourth corner, however they count it because there's a little kink before. Also second gear seems to be best there, just so you know what to do. Okay, anything else to explain with gears? Maybe downhill section, something you really want to know. Usually I go where the little billboard is on the highest point of the track. I go down to fourth gear, coming from fifth gear. Little braking there. Let's try to zoom in a bit. It should be this braking here. You see, it's a fifth gear, little braking, fourth gear, then go away from the brake, because else you will stop the rear tires completely, which might send you into a spin. So go off the brakes, maybe a little throttle to stabilize, but not too much. You want to reduce speed at this point. Fourth gear, let it roll around a little bit, then when you're about to steer to the left, third gear, let it roll a bit again, maybe a little bit throttle for stabilizing again, and second gear, braking again. Then you're on the right part, and well, you just roll around there. There's not much to do. Then it's full throttle again until you come to the corner before the last long straight, well, where I also don't have a recipe for you. It's just trying to brake very slightly, not to lock up the tires. Yes, they do kind of lock up even if you have ABS on. Yeah, and well, I think in this corner I go down to first gear. Yeah, that's the only corner where I go down to first gear. Turn around the car or steer the car around the corner, and then it's just full throttle. Yeah, maybe, come on, I explained so much of the track, then we can also explain the last corner, the last important corner I wanted to say. Also the corner that I did screw up in the Hotlap, you will just see in a second. Because, well, what is it? The chase. We all know it. Don't brake too late here. Brake temperatures are quite low because of the long straight. You see that? Even if we have the brake ducts very much closed, we are at 430 degrees Celsius, which is still okay, I can tell you. But yeah, they are lower than usual, so don't brake too late. That's very much important. I did in this lap, and that costs you the complete corner because you have to wait much longer to go on full throttle again. Yeah. But it's quite easy. Brake, no steering, go off the brakes, steer into the corner, and then if you hit the line right, you're just on full throttle, and you really can go full throttle through the chase. You go right, and woof, off you go to the last corner. If you don't go full throttle through there, you have to practice it. Yeah, you can win several tenths there, or you can lose several tenths there. So, what else? I told you already, 4 liters of fuel per lap, tire wear. Let's zoom out again. Per lap is about, we have 3.5, let's say, and we have 4.3, so it's less than 2%. We are at about 1.8% of tire wear. Not so much tire wear on Bathurst. The part of the track, the middle sector with many corners, the corners are not that fast, so tire wear is not that hard. And well, first and second sector is pretty much only straights. Good. Tire temps with the tire brushes I showed you. Huge differences on Bathurst because of the long straights. You go from 89, 87 degrees to 108 degrees Celsius. Huge differences, but that's just something you have to cope with. Can't do anything about it, but I'm sure you will do, or you will drive correctly and you can cope with that. Brake temps again, same thing. We are going from 660, 670 down to 431. Huge differences, but yeah. Also pretty much okay with the setup. So that's all I wanted to show you. Now the Hotlap is following. Oh, I think there's a swear word when I screw up in the chase. Please ignore that. Have fun watching it and see you next time, I guess. I already say you bye bye and see you next time.